Thank you for joining us with Frankly Speaking the News.
Stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that this isn't, they're not going to let up, and they should know.
If you think who is really a you ain't saying nothing yet.
So basically what you're witnessing there is an emotional psyop, a campaign. And the question is, who developed it? Who's handing out the talking points? What NGOs are involved? Very, very curious questions. Okay, so that gives you the atmosphere that was created prior to this assassination attempt. There had been a lot of talk about it. So now we're going to go to Butler, Pennsylvania, and we're going to witness the first shooting video here that we have. Before we start this, it's going to be interesting. If you notice the crowd behind him, the bleachers are behind him. When the first shot is fired, before the first shot is fired, he actually turns his head to the right to address a board that has data on his immigration policy and the statistics from illegal immigrants coming across the border. So let's play this, because what you'll see is the event as it grazes his ear and he puts his hand to his ear, what happens. So let me go ahead and put this together.
Are you ready? On you. Ready? Move. 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 Oh, that's it. You ready? No. No. Good. You're down. I'm good to move. We're clear. We're clear.
The other thing we'll address later in this video is the personnel that was provided through the Secret Service to provide the security detail. A very interesting choice of personnel for a president who obviously, as you can see by the media content, was constantly under threat and hated by a lot of people in the media who were fomenting this hate. Let's play it here.
I got you. Let me get my shoes. Hold on, your head is bloody. So we gotta move to the Watch out.
And at this point, I want to share my thoughts on the Secret Service who did dive on top of the president. A job well done. Those that were immediately surrounding his personal detail, who tried to shield him against any possible bullet fire, gunshots. We'll go on to the next clip. Divine intervention. Let's take a look here. As we begin this clip, what this diagram is going to illustrate for us is the path of the bullet and how it grazed his right ear. Had he not moved his head, he would be dead. Now, for all of those conspiracy theorists on the left who think that he took a little ketchup in his right hand and smeared it to his ear and that, nothing happened, well, there's nothing that we can say to you because you're so far out there that I don't think any kind of evidence would suffice to change your mind. But here is a great illustration of how he came millimeters or a millimeter from death at that particular event.
Look what happened.
See? Prior to that, the bullet line was right towards the head. Right here. It would have taken out the right side of his head, right side.
Take a look what.
Now, for this sixth video, we're going to give you a little preview. The particular individual that put this together synced the timeline a little bit for us, synced the events. So we'll watch this. You'll see the gunshots at the bottom as well.
And then the worst president in the history of our country took over. And look what happened to our country. Probably 20 million people. And that's a little bit old, that chart. That chart's a couple of months old. And if you want to really see something that's, take a look what happened.
Okay, right here, what he's illustrating is a couple screenshots. On the left, you have Crooks, who's lying in the prone position, got the line of sight with the white from the bottom of his sneakers here, looking in the gray, and his glasses in position to fire. What you're going to notice in the future videos is this Hercules group of anti-sniper team that's up here, counter sniper team. This particular gentleman, it appears that something flies by him because he moves his rifle up and to the right, and his spotter goes down and starts to back up a little bit as if they were taking fire from a different direction. Let me go ahead and play this. You notice down here at the bottom,
And then the worst president in the history of our country.
you'll notice a click here.
Yeah.
That sounds like a suppressor for another shot that went off.
And then the worst president in the history of our country.
So go ahead and share your thoughts on this particular video. Very interesting as they put that together. Now, here are the gunshots, number 7. Before I start this is a forensic analysis that was done that shows the possibility that there were up to 3 weapons fired at the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The first 3 shots came from weapon A, the next shots from B, and the final shot was from C. This is based on acoustics evidence. So I'm going to play this for you. There are 10 shots in this particular video set. The next group of 5 are clearly from a different weapon. I think there was either 9 or 10 shots now that we're going back on it. So here, pay attention.
This is the 5 that make a very distinct sound. Here's one with a very different crack in it. That's the 6th shot in the string. And then here we have the final last one, which I think is the sniper weapon, which is probably the one that put the bullet just over the left eye. crooks on the roof. So we're going to take a closer look at the blue, the red, the blacks here, and listen to these things. But once again, let's just listen very carefully. We'll go back and forth until you're certain of this yourself. These audio pieces are exactly pulled straight from the video itself. Nothing else. I haven't boosted any. I haven't done any filtering. Raw files. Okay. Here's 1, 2, and 3 to start. Okay, listen to that again. Now let's listen to the next frame. Ooh. Yeah. Hear that? So 6 sounds different to me, but here's an interesting thing. 1, 2, and 3, besides being muffled and further away, it doesn't have echoes. Yeah. So this here is a shot. This is an echo. Very clearly an echo, and a shot in an echo, and a shot in an echo. So this is actually critical evidence because you hear that there's echoes coming on. So that also allows us, again, to analyze where was this gun. But first up, we just have an absolutely different sound between the first 3. There's no echo. It's much further away. It's more muffled. It's just not in the same place at all. But these next ones, very different sound, totally different weapons. Okay, full stop. We have 2 separate weapons. Plus, we have no echoes coming off of the first 3, and then we do have echoes coming off of the next set. And that last one, that's different. That's not the sniper shot. The sniper shot is another 10 seconds later. Here's where it gets a little weirder. So what I've done, and this is, I've taken the first timeline. This is the video number 1's audio, and I've lined it up with video number 2's audio. You can see, so this is the supersonic crack. So that's the crack of the bullet arriving. And I've lined that up with what I did. I just shifted the timelines to line up with, this is the report of the gun. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 gun, 12 to 6, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've lined up that first blast of the gun with the arrival of the bullet so that it should be consistent, because if you have the explosion, the arrival of it downstream, they ought to line up, right? The timings ought to be the same. So sure enough, shot 1, no problemo, lines up perfectly. This is an echo up top there. Here's the echo down here for shot 1. Shot 3, though, remember this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This one doesn't line up. This one is actually, this shot happens about 0.03 seconds earlier. There's not alignment. It should be right under this peak, but it's not, which means the shot happened 0.03 seconds. It took 0.03 seconds longer for that bullet to get downstream, right? But it's further away. This implies the possibility that shots 1 and 2, those are fired by crooks, but somebody about 78 to 100 feet further away took shot 3. Then shots 4 and 5 line up again perfectly, but shot 6, hey, that's off the mark again by the same amount. And, oh, there's not quite the echoes that are happening off of shot 3. We don't see the same, there should be an echo right here. There should be an echo right here. We don't see that, not like these big echoes. There were 2 weapons being fired that are different from the first one. 1, 2, 3 are from weapon 1. Weapon 2 for sure is in a different spot, but there's a possibility because of those times of weapon 3. So it could be that 1, 2, 4, 5 were taken by crooks on the roof because he heard some stuff going on, decided to take his shots, but 3 and 6 were taken by somebody else another 100 feet away. Okay, so hypothesis. What do we have here? Okay, here's the hypothesis. At least 2 shooters, maybe 3. Don't know. The first 3 shots, I suspect my hypothesis is they came from inside the building, right? They were inside that, like if Crooks was on the roof, open the window, those shots came in from down below. Why do I think that? Because that ensures that the crack boomer can.
Now, it's interesting, based on his preliminary investigation into the acoustical sounds, the distance of the shots, and the echoes, he's making an accusation that one of the shots may have come from directly beneath Crooks. It just so happens that it was later discovered that there were sniper, or at least one sniper, counter sniper's nest established below Crooks. He was on top of the building. There was a counter sniper team below with a tripod and some type of AR-15 type weapon and camouflage right there out looking through a window. So very interesting. You'll see that later as we continue our presentations.
With the patio roof, the angles are the same, the crack boom isn't off, there's nothing to analyze, right? If those first three shots come out from below Crooks, then it all lines up, right? And this aligns with what we have from video number two's audio, where it's more distant, it's a muffled sound that would be more consistent with being inside. We don't have, it's also the upward slope of that bullet, right? Now that begins to line up if it's true that that back victim was struck with bullet one, and also all the lack of echoes. So everything's consistent with that hypothesis. Okay. In the second group of shots, I'm positive that 1, 2, 4, and 5, pretty sure those are fired by Crooks. Lines up with everything, echoes, and snaps reported downrange, all that. Now, shots 3 and 6 are puzzling. So my conclusions for today, there are at least 2 distinctly different weapons being fired, at least 2. The first 3 shots further away than the weapons that fired the next 5 to 7 shots, muffled. The sonic cracks tell us that everything was fired in Trump's and the audience's direction. That means they weren't taking out Crooks with these shots. This means the lone shooter theory is 100% false. And I can't be the only guy.
Okay, I want to highlight that. The lone shooter conspiracy or theory is false. Okay, let's continue to see what more evidence we see coming from this and other video clips.
Is it possible that we even had CNN saying, oh, no, experts tell us?
Now, we're going to go to number 8, which shows Crooks on the rooftop. Before we share this with you, you also need to bear in mind that you've got a 20-year-old who basically concocted a plan, strategically designed the plan, employed the tactics, circumvented a variety of layers of both local, municipal, state, and federal government to get in a position to assassinate a former president of the United States right out in the open. Is that possible? Again, going to Occam's razor. Is it more likely that he had assistance? These are some of the questions that you have to pose to yourself. And I'm going to ask you to go ahead and put your comments down at the bottom because I will get back to you on them. Again, we're not drawing any conclusions. The only conclusions we can draw is there was an attempt on the former president of the United States, Donald J. Trump. There were anywhere between 9 to 10 gunshots coming from at least 2 different distances, possibly 3. There was at least 2, possibly 3 weapons involved that were not the counter sniper's return fire that killed him. So let's play this here. Now, as I play this clip, I also want to pose the question to you. Behind the president of the United States here, and we'll open it up. If you look behind him, there are bleachers all back here as I'm drawing the cursor back here. So there are 2 sniper teams, Hercules Sniper Team 1 and 2, and the center barn, which is directly behind him, doesn't have one because they wouldn't need one, but they've got one on the south and one on the north side. And so they've got the same view that you and I have from behind the president. And up here on the right above the president in the red circle, you'll see Crooks running across the rooftop.
Should we bring him up for a couple of minutes?
And there he is. Okay, there he is right there. So he runs across and he positions himself right there. So the logical question is, you've got counterterrorism sniper team on 2 rooftops with glass. So they're looking through finders, rangefinder glass, through scopes. Okay. One of them, it appears, could have been blocked by a tree, but not at that particular location necessarily. But for sure, this would have been their field of vision looking out towards threats in the crowd. So is it conceivable that they didn't see this guy running on the roof? So granted, this is prime time. This is during the actual speech. This is prime time when everybody's alert is on high alert. It's like if you're going to a football game, it's kickoff. Everybody's tense, everybody's alert, everybody's head is on a swivel. You should be looking for possible threats everywhere. So this should be at the point when you're like on a razor's edge trying to make sure that everything is safe and secure. Is it possible or plausible that they didn't see him? I asked that question. Again, share the video, like the video, but also more importantly, put your comments, because maybe we're looking at it completely wrong. Who knows? Your thoughts are welcome here. And we'll continue on from here to number 9, which is, this is very interesting. This popped up on Twitter, and it's very cryptic. It's a message from Crooks. Take it with a grain of salt as you will, but it's fascinating. And so your thoughts and inputs will be very welcome in the comment section on this particular cryptic message from Crooks. Okay, first of all, before we get to the message, you're going to see there's a gentleman by the name of Yurik, who was a friend of Crooks, and there is conjecture and speculation that this guy may have helped recruit him, and they're basically showing you the outline of the face of the individual. The guy in the center is the guy who was shot on the rooftop, and how his face lines up a little more with Yerdrick's face than it does with Crooks. Take that with what you will. Again, it's just another data point. Let's see here. And then what I want to share with you, and in that data point, you can see here also the outline of the mouth. When you contrast and match and then invert the images, draw the dots along the outlines of it's really obvious Crooks doesn't have the Cupid's bow, whatever that is. And so you see this here. So let's go back. This is the video that I want you to hear. Okay, so he's saying basically that he hates Republicans, he hates Trump, and that basically you've got the wrong guy. Let's hear it again.
Because you know what?
Okay. So take that and make it what you will. Is he part of a conspiracy? Was he a setup man? Did they actually shoot him on the roof? Is that 20-year-old capable of pulling off that gunshot at about 130 yards or so, 140 yards, whatever the distance was? Is he capable of taking that shot? We don't know. Okay. Now we'll go to the body cam images from Crooks. This is number 10. Actually, it's not the body cam images. It's actually
That guy made this place especially.
This is pretty fascinating. Again, another data point. This is a commercial for BlackRock as they're dealing with the teachers' pension funds and how they're helping the schools by creating scholarship opportunities for youth. And so in this particular commercial, Crooks is in the actual commercial. And the reason it's interesting is because BlackRock also was a part owner of the AGR building, which is the building on which Crooks took position in that little crow's nest kind of area, and not quite a crow's nest, but in that position to fire at the president. So let's hear this real quick.
Come to school. Come to school. To come to school. I hope when I retire someday, they say come to school. That guy made this place a special place to come to school, 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 to come to school. I hope.
This is interesting. They manage retirement plans and assets for over a third of the U.S. public schools teachers. Very interesting. Okay, so that's another data point to look at. Now we're going to go to the body camera in number 11. Okay, this, I'm going to set this up for you a little bit. This was immediately after the sniper was taken out by the counter sniper terrorist. Counter sniper team. The terrorist was taken out. So I want you to take a quick look at this. This guy here is supposedly from the FBI. He's one of the first on the scene. And here we go. What you see here is his foot and the blood just draining down because of the incline on the roof.
And then this was his bike with the son. And our sniper team walking away from that. But he would be right inside that window. He's the one that physically seen this, sent the pictures and told it out. Okay,
So one of the individuals was looking through the window for either the Butler PD or the state police, saw him through the window and took a picture and sent it to everybody while he was sitting on a picnic bench. And that's what he's discussing with this particular agent.
He's the one that sent the pictures out.
He says that there's somebody detained also. So it's so they were up there fairly quickly, and you can see the blood trail. This is the body cam from the ECU sniper unit. This is right after the event, and he's kind of rushing onto the scene. This is at exactly 18/29/22. On July 13th. Okay, he's on the roof. You can see that this was a staging area for them prior to the shooting also.
So the ladders are in route. The operator stopped the ladder.
One of the operators hurt his hands, which is why there was blood in the bathrooms. Also, and that's one of the operators for either the counter sniper team or the ECU counter sniper team, or maybe the local police.
Can't confirm lifestyles in the middle. Let's get all So how we got up next corridor. The suspect is directly above us.
The ladder's gonna be coming over here? Yeah. So that corridor down there? There's a ladder right here. What you do?
That ladder they're pointing at was actually placed there for the Secret Service. They had taken a telescopic ladder and placed it on top of a PVC shed type device, and they were trying to scale it using that. He actually took it off that shed type device and expanded it and was able to get up there. That was the FBI guy that we see up on the roof in the prior video. There is this shed, the PVC shed. It was initially placed on top of it. There goes Michelle. She's kind of like a technician, first aid type individual, so she's going up first. That's why she's got so much loaded on her. Now, an interesting thing is when the paramedics are working on him, or the individuals that are rendering assistance, he's already dead, but they all seem to use red gloves. If there's any particular reason for that, please leave a comment in the comment section and let us know why these guys use the red gloves.
2, 3, 4, 5 right there. No more guys up here. Go, give me solid perimeter, get guys prepped, clear the building. All right?